Welcome in, folks.
Hello.
Greetings.
And happy Friday. Oh
Happy
my
Friday.
gosh. I am
Gosh.
in this beautiful light coming through. It's totally fake because it's like 20 degrees outside,
Oh,
but I'm going to roll with it and I'm going to pretend that it's warmer than
ba
what it is.
balmy 46 here in Columbus, Ohio. So, also enjoying some sun coming in.
Listen, we gotta take it with where we can get it.
That's right. So, we will get started. We are going to record the session today. So, if people jump in late or if they're watching this recording after the fact, thanks so much for joining us. My name is Spencer Giese. I'm a research educational specialist at ACUHO. Um, been at ACUHO, this is year 5, and prior to that, I was a 10-year practitioner in residence life. So thrilled to be with you all today. Behind me, also in year 5 of existence, is Jackson. So hey, Jackson. So enjoy his movements over the course of our time together today, and I'll pass it over to my co-host of the session, Mary Catherine.
Well, hello. My name is Mary Catherine Woodson. I am an assistant director for Residence Life, or the Center for Residence Life, at Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York. This is my 4th year in the position. I am also the candidate communication chair for the Housing Internship Committee, as well as some other committees that I'm on that I'm realizing. But yeah, that's why I'm here today.
Great. And because you all are joining us, I have a sneaky suspicion that you all may be candidates in our internship program. And for that, thank you. We're thrilled that you're both here with us today or watching this video and that you are part of the program. Really, we're doing everything we can to help you find an internship through our program for the summer. Um, so today's session is really, it's preparing for offer day, but most importantly, it's our last Ask Me Anything session of the cycle. So really, this is your opportunity to use the chat or to unmute yourself at any point and just chime in on questions that you may have. This is a space where there is no question that's out of bounds. There's nothing that, if it is something that's you're wondering about, concerning to you, whatever that might be, it's a great time to get together and share that out loud. And usually, in most situations, if you have a question, there's probably someone else who's also wondering the exact same thing. So whoever is willing to step up first and share that, awesome. Um, so let me just do a few pieces of review in the program and where we're at to get us started. So our next stage in the internship program is March 23rd, which is Tuesday at 1 p.m. That is when host schools can start offering internships officially to candidates. Um, Hosts are not supposed to make offers
Oh.
prior to that time. Yeah, we'll talk about you know. Um, and this year in our program, and we're a little down on openings, but we also have lower candidates this year, all thanks to our friend COVID. So thanks COVID for bringing
Thank
us
you,
a
COVID.
lower internship market than past years, but more internships than last year, which was about 0. So thrilled that we have internships again this year, and we know that we'll continue to see that number rise in future years. Um, some things that you should be considering as you think about compensation for positions, and this was brought up in our candidate orientation earlier in the cycle. Just thinking about, what kind of stipend, what kind of living accommodations, if it's a virtual appointment, how does pay work, things like that. So be mindful of those items. Um, as we look back at internships in the past, the average internship in our program was 37 hours a week, and the summer stipend from those positions was 3,200. So as you think about offers, these were the averages by the numbers in the past. Think about how that matches up with an offer. There are some positions out there that blow this number away, and there are some positions out there that don't. That's why it's an average. So just be mindful of that as you're considering offers. Um, Obviously, there's a ton of different options when it comes to work or internship fit for you. So be thinking about what are the fit components that you're looking for. That's the most important piece of fit for you. Again, it's a two and a half month, a 3 month experience. So everything may not be perfect. It is a great way to get experience and then go back to or go to the future campus that you have planned for the fall and just have that short stint of time and see how it works and see what you can gain in your experience and position moving forward. So that's our brief overview of the internship program as we are now and what you should be considering at this point. At this time, we will go through some of our Ask Me Anything questions that were submitted on registration from folks. And certainly, again, we've got the chat function. If you've got a question that comes up, put it in the chat.
We're ready.
We are ready. So I've gotten this question a few times. We'll just bring it up for good of the order. What if I've not heard back from the internship I'm most interested in? Okay, it happens. Like we said, there's a number of internships on the site. What if you've reached out, you've applied, they've never gotten back to you? Mary Catherine, what's your thoughts on that?
I think as long as we are past that March 23rd deadline, you are able to contact those schools back. And so keep in mind that you are not the only person that has interviewed with these host schools. And so, also keep in mind time change. Time change is a really big thing. And so depending on where potentially in the world or what side of the country you are on and where you are trying to contact, things might be moving a little bit different. But if you get to the end of the day and you have not heard from that school, there is nothing that is within our guidelines that says that you can't contact them. I think a very typical email that we see, whether we're talking about the internship program or we're talking about job searches, is, "Hi, this is Mary Catherine. I am a candidate in your process. I'm just looking for an update about where I am in your process." And they are going to reply back, hopefully quickly, so that you can get a better understanding of where you are in their process. I think something that a lot of people should really be prepared for is we have made an offer to our number one candidate. You are our insert your number candidate here. And so a lot of people get this anxiety of like, okay, well, they said that I'm their number two candidate. How long do I wait it out to see if that candidate accepts the offer or not? It's a risk. It's a risk. And so you really have to weigh your options about whether or not you can wait to see if that risk is going to pan out in your favor or not, but also understand that you have 24 hours to communicate with every offer that you have. So if you have been extended 3 offers, those 3 offers are not the top school that you're interested in. You contact that school. They said that we have offered to our top candidate and we are waiting to hear back. It's kind of inappropriate to keep all 3 of those offers waiting because you are still looking to hear back from your top school to see if they're going to extend you an offer or not. So there's definitely lots of things to keep in mind, but answering the question again, as long as it's past that deadline, you are able to contact that school. I would also say, again, just giving grace of time that if you don't get a call directly, what's the time, Spencer? It's not noon.
It's 1 p.m. Eastern.
That's what I was gonna say. I think it's 1 p.m. So if it's 1 p.m. Eastern time and it's 1:05 and you haven't heard from that school, give them like a couple of hours. Like I said, we all have different positions. We have different things going on. And so some people may not be able to make that call right at 1 o'clock and they have to wait or through the system. And so definitely giving them some time.
Sure. And to add on to that, let's say this thought process, well, I applied for a school, I never heard back anything. Well, here's what I'll tell you with jobs, higher ed jobs, and just jobs in general right now. There's a lot of folks who apply for jobs and unfortunately never hear anything back. And that's a really uncomfortable sensation. And I feel like this is almost an opportunity to prepare you for life because I'm sure Mary Catherine and I have both applied for jobs that we just never heard back from. And it's unfortunate. I don't like it. But just be mindful. Like, if you are showing interest in a position and they're not showing interest back, we're like a dating website a little bit. We're like Match.com for internships. And if you kept asking the same person out and you kept hearing nothing, that'd probably be a good indication. Unfortunately, that's kind of like that here, where certainly there's hours of grace time and understanding that people may not be able to offer right at offer time. But if you've just never heard anything, it might be time to move on and continue looking at other opportunities that can work for you. This is an employer market this year. This is a host site market this year. And what that means is that there's more candidates than there are positions. That doesn't mean you're not going to get an internship, but I want you to know that clearly. So if you do receive an offer, hanging out like, oh, I really hope I get a different offer, that might not be a realistic option this year. You may want to accept the opportunity that is good, that is a fit for you, even if it's not your number one, because it can be a great 2.5 month, 3 month experience for you, and do that. Certainly do your due diligence, connect with your number one school, see where they're at. But if you're, hey, actually, Mary Catherine, you're our third choice, or you're our next choice, they'll all love to say that because they don't want you to know that
No
you're number
way.
4. They want you to think that you're number 2. Um, okay, you might just want to go with the person who asked you to dance first. I don't know. Do people still go to dances? I don't know.
Not in COVID, they don't.
Not in COVID, they don't. 6 feet distance. Okay, arms
That's
out.
right.
Okay, get that wingspan on. Um, let's see what else we've got for questions. Can I reach out to internships after offer day? For sure. We are going to have internships that don't fill on offer day.
Right.
They are going to offer to someone that says no. And then when they go to offer to other people in their pool, those people have already been snatched up by other schools. And then all of a sudden they're like, shoot, we haven't filled our position. You can still apply for internships after offer day. You can still reach out to internships after offer day. And as your advocate in the program, and I work for both, I'm trying to help host sites and candidates at the same time. I will reach out to every host site and be like, hey, if you've not had success filling your position, let me know. And then I will send out a list to all of our active candidates like, hey, these 25 schools are still looking for someone. If you're interested, apply. And again, if you want that internship experience and you haven't gotten it, if you haven't gotten an offer yet, great opportunity to just jump in and be eager and want to get connected with the position. So I will do my best to create lists of openings to share with you all as candidates if that's something you need assistance with after offer day, probably about 2 weeks after. But certainly, you're welcome to reach out to internships after offer day. A key indicator in our system for you as a candidate, if you have a school, a host site that you love their internship, and you'd applied for it. And then you go to your list of applications and all of a sudden, poof, it'll say, position filled or accepted other, it'll say, you'll know, oh, nuts, they filled their position. And when you go to the tab of available internships, their posting won't be there anymore. So after offer day, when a position is officially filled, it's taken off of the available positions page. So you'll be able to narrow down, okay, here's who still is looking for people because their posting still exists. Yeah. Great. Okay. All right. Mary Catherine, I'll throw it over to you on this one.
Yeah. So, what do we see as the best way to rank institutions prior to offer day in an organized manner? What factors should I consider that I may not be already thinking of? I think that this is a really great question, but I also think that it is so different depending on who you are. I think one of the things that I really think about is how is this in summer internship going to diversify my resume as I'm trying to continue to pursue this as a career. So, if you are currently a graduate student and you are currently overseeing a high rise tower residence hall and you're accepting a position that is going to be overseeing a high rise residence hall, how is that experience really diversifying for you, right? How are you really trying to open up what you are knowing and how are you learning new things over the summer? I will never forget when I was an intern. I went to a system where all of the key cards were made in that department. I had never seen anything like that. And I had to learn how to make key cards. And I ended up writing the manual that I promise you they still use to this day, because I know someone that's been in that school recently. And I was like, made that manual for y'all. And so how are you learning new skills? What is that position really going to be adding it to your resume? Obviously, yes, stipend amount. Definitely when people are coming from different experiences and different backgrounds, like that stipend amount may be a make or break for someone for the summer. Spencer stopped my screen, and so I was like, I don't know what's happening. When you have, thank you, Spencer, what type of institution are we going to be at? Are you currently at a public and you're going to a private, or vice versa? Definitely really thinking about holistically, what type of school is it? Are we talking about a liberal arts, and are you going to a tech institute that's focused on STEM? Thinking about the geographical diversity, are we talking about, are you currently at a rural school and you're going to a major metropolitan area? And so really thinking about how are you moving the different types of patterns that you've seen in your experiences already, and really plugging in this internship to try to diversify that. That's one of the things that I really wanted for myself. I was coming from a rural, large public, and I went to a residential metropolitan adjacent small public. And so, you're talking about the difference between 10,000 on campus to about 2,000. And so it was a very, very different experience. And so really thinking about that for yourself is going to be important.
Very well said. Thanks, Mary Catherine.
Anytime.
All right. What would be a sample email or phone response for when you're extended an offer, but you want more time to think about it? Well, I want all of our viewers of this to know the same thing that we tell our hosts. It's a 24-hour offer period. So while you might want more time, certainly thank you for the offer.
Right.
And we'll be in touch in the next 24 hours, because that's your decision-making time. Certainly now, if you get an offer and you're like, holy smokes, it's my number one, it's a no doubter, you want to accept right away, great.
Go for it.
Certainly. You might want to ask questions like, what day do you want me to start?
Right.
When would I come back? Maybe I would say agree on those items first. Make sure everyone's on the same page, because obviously you might have applied with multiple places, might have multiple timelines. Make sure those timelines work for you. But yeah.
Thank you so much for your offer. I'm going to take 24 hours to think about it. Thank you so much. I'll be right back in contact with you.
Yeah, I would just say I'll be back in touch with you within the next 24 hours. I wouldn't even make them think that it's going to take you 24 hours. Just you acknowledging how much time's in the process. And I will tell you, if you say that 24-hour line and you have any type of host school that's like, wait a second, we need to know in the next 2 hours, you best just get on the phone with the ACUHO right now, and I will come to the rescue to be like, hi, host site. No, that's not how we do it. So I am your advocate. I'm their advocate. I'm everybody's advocate in this process. But ultimately, I just want it to be a level offer playing field, if you will. So you've got the time that you need to think about it, but also you're not taking up too much time and they can't get other candidates. So great. Here's a good one. How or when should I bring up a summer commitment? For example, I'll be in a friend's wedding during the summer internship. How should I approach this? Mary Catherine, thoughts?
I really, really hope that you are not waiting for offer day to really bring up those types of conversations, especially if it's going to be taking you away for a significant amount of time from your internship. So, we talk about 10 weeks is about the timeline of an internship. And if you're going to be in a wedding and you're going to be away for something around 7 to 10 days, that's a significant chunk of your internship. And so definitely bringing up those prior commitments are going to be really important when you were interviewing. Now, let's say that something came up in between the interview and offer day and you just didn't get a chance. Things happen. We're not here to judge. I think, again, the language that you could be using is thank you so much for your offer. Can we talk about my dates of availability as they have changed since the last time we spoke? And really, there is a way to open up that conversation to talk about, I'm available from this date to this date. I also want to let you know that I was asked to be in a wedding, or I don't know, it's my family's 50th year reunion or something.
Great year to do that. Definitely the right year to do that.
I right here to do that. But being upfront and transparent about that is going to be really important. I will say that I don't think that schools are unreasonable. And, we definitely recognize that this is also summertime for y'all and that things come up during the summer. But waiting until you get to your internship and telling them, hey, this is the times that I'm going to be away is definitely inappropriate and definitely could impact your experience and the work that they thought that they were going to get from you being there. So please be upfront and transparent about any prior engagements that you already know about.
And at the same time, and Mary Catherine touched on this, they're not all bad. You might say, hey, there's a weekend, I'm in a wedding, I need to miss Friday. Well, that sounds a lot different than I'm going to miss an entire week because I'm in a wedding on the weekend. So, and that also, if you know that might impact the location where you might want to accept an internship. If you're in a wedding in New York State and you accept an internship in California, that looks a lot different than if you accept an internship in Ohio and you can drive to New York State in the same day or a day before. So be mindful of that. But certainly, we are continually trying to find ways to have work-life integration where we can have host schools and employers and supervisors that are understanding and allowing that flexibility while also meeting the expectations and needs in a job position. When you master it, let us know. We'll write a book, make a lot of money. It'll be great. Rooting for y'all. This could be like a doctoral thesis topic if you wish. Let's go for it. We're not hyped for this idea. Okay, good. We're going to put that one away. We'll talk in 5 years. Okay. Here's a technical question. How do you navigate receiving offers via phone or email and not on the ACUHO platform? Well, I messaged all of our hosts yesterday, 2 days ago, recently, depending on when you're watching this, to reaffirm if the offer is an official offer, it needs to come through our ACUHO website where you've applied for all these positions. That's where the offer needs to be, so you can hit accept. It is not official until you receive it on the platform and then you click the accept button and then you've accepted the offer. That goes for them as well. It's not an official appointment if they've not offered it in the system. We will not acknowledge it. ACUHO will not acknowledge it as a housing internship through ACUHO if it's not accepted in the system. Period.
That means that people are still going to call you and they're still going to email you.
Sure. And I welcome them to. I would much rather you get a call at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. saying, hey, we would love for you to be our intern for the summer. I want you to get on the phone. That is no fun to get on an email about. But the next step is, yes, they need to make the offer on the website. You need to accept the offer. If anyone has questions about it, or you run into any trouble in the process where they're not offering it to you on the website, but you've got an offer, hit that purple chat box on the webpage. Message me. I will come advocate for you. At the same time, I will, if you are not accepting an offer, but you've accepted it verbally, but you're not saying it on the website, and a host comes to me and is like, well, Mary Catherine has not accepted the position on the webpage. What do we do? I'll be like, hey, I will pick up the phone myself and call Mary Catherine and be like, hi, this is ACUHO. This is Spencer. You need to accept this on the platform because it looks like you're trying to play the field and accept something verbally, but then not accept it unconditionally. Because just like when a position disappears from your viewing, when it's accepted, you as a candidate disappear from hosts when you've accepted a position, which is a great thing because hosts also need to know who's available. So help us in that process by accepting positions when they're offered.
I just got a great question. The question is, when does the clock start for the 24 hours? Does it start once we get the offer call or the email? And the answer is yes. That is when
Yes, the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. That is when your clock starts. So, March 23rd, 1 p.m., that is not when the 24 hours starts, right? It's whenever you receive that offer communication. And so once you get the offer, yes, that is when the 24 hours clock, that is when the 24 hours clock starts. Yes, great question.
Great. Okay. How should you clarify the timeline for the internship? I've looked at some internships that would start earlier than I'd want to with academic commitments, and others I'm just not sure about when the exact start date would be. Well, if you've not clarified that prior to getting an offer, certainly when you receive the offer, clarify it for both the best of both parties. And believe me, if you feel like you've been offered a position, and then as you talk about the offer, you talk about timeline and they back out, and you feel like you've been wronged in the process, reach out to me, let me try to intercede and figure out how we can remedy that. But at the end of the day, if your availability is not what's needed for the internship and you receive an offer and there's not a way that it can work, it sounds like you're at an impasse. And at the end of the day, our internship sites want to be able to have someone in the position the entire duration or the most of the duration. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not. And it also depends on how long someone's been a host. If it's their first year as a host site, they might say, yeah, we'd like you here till September 1st. And you're like, I love your internship, but there's no way I can be I need to be back at school. Like I've got students moving in, I've got training, and they should understand that. There's a pretty clear cycle to this where the internship window is when school lets out to when professional staff training starts. Because if you're a professional staff member elsewhere, you need to be back on your campus once professional staff training starts. Undergraduate students have a bit more flexibility to stay later on a campus. And internships should be looking for those type of candidates if they need someone that can stay later. Okay. How can we find out if schools are still accepting applications or if they've completed the search process? Right now, it's nebulous. It's tough because every position is posted and you can still keep applying and you have no idea where they fall with if they found their dream intern. Same time, nothing to say that candidate's going to accept for sure, if and when offered. Some of you may be in other internship processes. At the exact same time frame as ours is the NOTA internship process. We actually partner with NOTA to make sure we're on the same page with timelines. So if you are doing NOTA, next week is a big week for NOTA offers as well. So a candidate could get an offer from an internship that's not an ACUHO internship and accept that. And then that school is like, shoot, we're still looking for someone. So once we get past offer day, if you see internships that are still in the system, up and running, visible to you, that means they're not filled yet. And all you can do is reach out or apply and see if you can get into communication with that opening.
If a school is no longer there, it means that the position has been filled.
Yeah. Or the other sad piece of that is maybe they lost funding for their opportunity. We've had a few sites that have had to pull earlier in the process, and I had a number of candidates reach out, be like, "Oh my gosh, what happened? I applied with blank institution and it's gone." I'm like, let's take a look. And oh shoot, they had to pull their position because funding. Thanks, COVID. So
yeah.
Great. So that really leads us to, that's the end of our formal questions that we had produced by people who registered and questions in the field. And we really want to take this time to pass it on to our attendees who are live with us. If you've got questions on your mind, you can do one of two things. You can put them in the chat, or you can just unmute, introduce yourself to the group, and share your question, and we will do our very best to answer it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kay Farr. I'm a first year grad at Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, Texas.
Go Horned Frogs.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. The purple carpet, right? My question is in regard to if there are any opportunities for ACUHO to provide any scholarships that could assist in like travel expenses or other expenses that may not be covered in benefit packages at said institution.
That's a great question. I think the best first question of that is asking if there's any travel expenses covered by the host sites. Some of the positions talk about that, others don't. But that's a great question to ask, especially if you are a candidate traveling from a farther distance. As of right now, ACUHO is not offering scholarships for travel based on some of our financial cuts we've made as well. That is something we hope to be doing in the future. It's not great, but certainly we acknowledge that as well. And I would definitely say talk to your institution if you're currently in a graduate program. See if there's any possible assistance from your graduate program or your department you're currently in, since it's a high likelihood that your position or your graduate program requires some sort of assistantship. See if there's any offerings of assistance there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Rachel, I know you've been dying to ask a question. I've seen it. You've almost unclicked that mute button.
Oh my gosh, Spencer.
I know I'm the worst. I mean, this is instructor me when I'm in the classroom, be like, all right, we'll talk to you. But Zoom callouts are no fun.
Pressured.
Positive peer pressure.
No.
I guess I have a question.
Sure.
So my name is Dajane Sinclair. I'm a GCD at the University of Mississippi. I have a few CAs who are hard-headed and didn't hear me when I said the ACUHO internship was available. Is it too late for them to go through the process?
That's a great question. Is it too late? It's not too late. I think there's an advantageous piece of it that's been lost, where they could have been a fully considered candidate to many positions. That's not to say, I think we'll know a lot more in 5 days when we can see what positions have been filled and what are still seeking opportunities. And you said CA, so I'm guessing those are undergraduate students, correct? Okay. And I know there's a number of sites that have summer programs that hire around 30 undergraduate students. And it's just, I can't tell you right now how well they're doing in their processes, if they're going to fill all their 30 positions or not. So certainly, if you'd like to use that purple chat box next Wednesday, Thursday, say, hey, Spencer, remember me from the webinar last week. How's it looking for undergraduate positions? And that might be a great way to kind of gauge how well they could still do in the process. And I understand, hard-headed, nuts. You did a great job mentoring them and trying to get them to consider an opportunity. And also we could, if we work together, perhaps we could show them a couple of position descriptions of what is out there and see if that would be of interest to them. Because I would hate to say, hey, jump in the process. Host schools will have 1 day to consider you and then it's offer day. That's tough.
I actually do have a question.
Yes.
My name is Rachel Krell, and I'm a junior at Northern Arizona University, so an undergrad in the process. Is there a requirement for approximately how long internships need to be, or can schools cut down their program? Because I heard that a school cut theirs from 12 weeks to 6 weeks, and I was just curious.
That's really going to be dependent on what the requirement your internship is trying to fulfill. I would answer with my gut and say no. Most schools are just looking for diversified experience for the internship program. And so some schools are going to offer a longer or shorter program, but definitely if your internship is to fulfill a credit somewhere, I would go back to that academic program and ask, is there a length requirement that the internship needs to be? It typically is going to be not necessarily in weeks, but it's in hours. And so this internship needs to be this many hours. And so even if you do have shorter weeks, you could still potentially fulfill your hour requirement by taking on extra projects or things like that.
That's a great question. I think the one component, long-standing component that's set the ACUHO housing internships apart from other potential internships out there is that they all were required to offer housing. So as an intern, you'd have a place to live and stay for that 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months that you were on campus. This is our first year that we've been like, hey, we can also offer virtual positions. So this is our first year. We've strayed from that a bit. I will tell you, I thought when we put this program together last October, November for this cycle, I thought there'd be so many virtual positions and so few in person. And come to find out, 90% of our positions are still in person, which is, I find to be really shocking. But hey, the campuses want to be where they've been in the past. They don't want to lose that feel of let's keep having people work virtually and hire virtually and whatnot. So that desire for tradition and for continuing these positions to be in person, it's a great sign for the field. It's a great sign for a future, I hate to say return to normalcy, but at least keep a trend going where it's not just a bunch of virtual interns every summer. So that's great. But at the same time, to answer your question, most basically, no, there's no hour or time. We ask that interns have housing paid for or housing provided, and there's some sort of compensation structure that, we frown upon unpaid internships. We understand that budgets are really tight in departments, and they acknowledge that as well. So I'm certain that we've seen some positions have lower stipends than potential in the past, but certainly something that we don't want to get in the habit of is saying, hey, thanks for doing great free work for higher ed, because that is not what we want to be happening in this field in general. I would like to advocate for all of you to receive more compensation and more value for the time that you put in working with students and making a difference in college students' lives than saying, hey, let's pay you less because budgets are tight. All right, I'm going to give it last call. This is your last call for questions. As you think about any questions you might still have, I'm going to put our contact information up on the screen for you, so you can see both of our email addresses there if you'd like to reach out to either of us. And I always encourage folks to use the purple chat box on our internship pages. That is a direct instant message to me. So hi, would love to connect. If there's something that comes up that you have an instant question about, I get that notification on my phone. I'm happy to answer you in real time as best as I can.
I got a quick question.
Certainly.
How do you go about like asking hosts, like after like you will get an internship or whatever, about like feedback on your interview, just to get that feedback, because the next level is probably looking at for a job. I'm a first year grad to it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great question.
I was going to say, that's a really great question. I think that, excuse me, one of the things that I loved about the internship interview process is just how friendly everyone is. And so I think that you should feel exceptionally comfortable contacting any of those schools and asking if we could set up just a 15-minute informational interview about feedback for my interview skills that I did. I also think that you should feel really comfortable with the internship where you may land, or even with your home institution, asking if I could do a mock interview with anyone so that you can continue to get feedback. My contact information is up on the screen. Please feel free. I love doing mock interviews. I'm not gonna pull my tricks out of my sleeve. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I love doing mock interviews. And so I really think that you should feel comfortable when you have different people accessible to you to feel comfortable taking informational interviews to ask about what are things that I should be thinking about, how should I be preparing for this, but also if I can set up a mock interview for you. I think you will be pleasantly surprised how much people really do enjoy that experience, because we love talking to people as they're going throughout their journey. So that, again, that was a really great question. Seriously, feel free. And I tell people all the time, the worst thing that people can say is, no, I don't have time right now, right? That is literally the worst thing that someone can say to you. People are not going to say, absolutely no, Isaiah, you were the worst. They're not going to say that. The worst they're going to say is, I just don't have time right now. I think you would be very surprised by folks that may be like, absolutely, I would love to talk to you about that and talk to you about how you can potentially tell your story differently so we can continue to learn more about you.
And the internship program as a whole, it's a developmental program. While there are some schools out there that they really need bodies to fill roles on their campuses in the summer, for the most part, the reason schools are hosting interns is to continue to progress the field forward. Yes, it's a great new outside viewpoint on their campus for 2.5 months, but certainly it's an opportunity to help the field, to give back. And one way to give back is to provide that interview feedback, because in a year, you'd like to be applying for full-time jobs. And this is the best, this internship program is the best low-risk opportunity there is out there to get practice interviewing, to find out what fit is on the campus. There's no bad decision you can make here, folks. You could accept any position that comes your way, and it's 2.5 months. And with some of the things we've been through in the last 12 months, there's not a lot of campus experiences for 2.5 months that can be really that bad. So live, learn. If you go to a campus and it's horrible for 2.5 months, I'm sorry, but you've learned so much for the future of your time in this career or another career path. And if it goes amazingly for 2.5 months, 3 months, you might have another institution, another school that can potentially offer you a full-time job in a year. And we have countless success stories of, hey, I was an ACUHO intern at this place, and then a year later they hired me. 3 years later they hired me. I had those connections, or I met someone, they supervised me, they went to another school, and then I applied at that school, and poof, magic. Because a known quantity in an internship process, or in an interview process, a known quantity is so much more comforting, easier to offer to, easier to relate to than necessarily the unknown quantity. So some of those connections you make, they will be of great assets to you all the way down the line in your career. Great. Well, certainly, I'm thrilled you all joined us today. If you're watching this video, we're thrilled you're watching the video. Thanks for hanging out on YouTube. Mary Catherine and I will continue to be here with you throughout the process. And certainly when you have an internship in 2-3 months and you've got questions, we still will help. So our advocating for you in this process doesn't end after you receive an offer. It never ends. And certainly if there are summer experiences that you're having that you need to talk to about with someone, reach out to us. Mary Catherine, any last words of wisdom for the group before we go?
I think that this experience is it was a breath of fresh air for me. The work that you're doing on your home institutions is so important, but it can also be stressful. It can also be overwhelming. And I cannot even imagine what it's like to be all in this time of COVID. And so I really want you all to look at this opportunity as just a way to get a glimpse into this could be what I do for the rest of my life, right? It gives you an outside perspective of what you're already doing. That this program was honestly probably what saved me from leaving the field. I was just really struggling. I felt really lost. And I just didn't know how to quantify what I was learning and how qualified I was. And I went to my summer internship program and I was like, oh, okay, I actually know more than I thought I did. Oh, okay, this is great, right? It was the reassurance that I needed, that this is my career, my vocation. And so I really want you all to be taking an opportunity to push your comfort zone, push your limitations and challenge yourself. This shouldn't just be a cakewalk. It should be something that is really getting you to critically think about this work and how you want to continue to pursue it. I said this last time and I meant it, and I'll say it again. I'm really proud of you all for stepping up and taking this opportunity. Again, I can't imagine being in your shoes right now during this time of COVID and trying to manage all of this. And so you all are incredibly resilient, and please let us know if you need any assistance.
Can I ask one quick question?
Absolutely.
Because I love getting connected with people. Is there a way that like just overall, whether it's a Facebook page or some other platform that's utilized to connect with other fellow grads or to connect with other undergrad students beyond just this internship experience in the summer? Because I just like to get to know more people in the field or potentially exploring, other areas and being able to support each other. So just curious if there's other platforms utilized for that.
I'll throw a few out there, and Mary Catherine, you can as well. Certainly, we've got an ACUHO online community that you're all a part of now. That's a great work thread place, especially for questions, not necessarily like for fun networking as much as it is for work networking. We have had an internship Facebook group for a number of years. Our COVID lull gave us a gap year that now I need to go back and figure out what intern in the past is the administrator of that, so we can get that fired up again. And typically we try to get all the accepted interns for a summer connected on there so they can talk about their experiences through that. So thank you. That's a really great reminder of like, hey, put this on the checklist of get this figured out for the summer. And outside of that, I know there's some general student affairs Facebook groups that can be really uplifting and can be really tear downy. So I will honestly say I stay off those and don't post on them because it's not always positive. But Mary Catherine, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Yeah, Spencer mentioned the thing that I was not going to mention. I think that probably the safest way to connect is definitely going to be through the branded sites. So ACUHO being one of them. Big job searching is happening right now. So NASPA and TPE and things like that. I would go through our accrediting bodies. I would be a little weary of pages that get set up by individuals. There has been quite some unhealthy behavior that has occurred in those spaces. And as you all are just beginning on this journey, I do not want you to, I don't want you to get overwhelmed by some of the things that happens in those spaces. I will say that ACUHO is great because they do a really great job of highlighting individuals that are doing really great work across their campuses. And what I suggest to you is to follow them on Instagram, follow them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter. When they put those posts out of people who are doing work on their campuses, people who are sitting on different committees, people who are in, so I'll use myself as an example because I can talk about myself fairly easily. I am the candidate communication chair for the housing internship program. I am an ex officio member of the foundations board for ACUHO. I am also in the inaugural cohort for the Leadership Academy, which is an initiative for mid-level professionals of color to come together to get exposure to the administration and the executive nature of ACUHO. So if my face were to jump up on a poster somewhere for ACUHO, which it's not going to, but if my face were to jump up somewhere for ACUHO and you were like, oh my gosh, I'm really touched by her story. Oh my gosh, I would really like to connect with her. go ahead and shoot an email. We don't put our faces and our names out there without knowing and accepting and willingly wanting to connect with people. Now, I definitely get what you are saying about wanting affinity with people who are at your same level, your peers. Spencer and I can definitely chat offline about how we can continue to help make sure that that community is created through the safe haven of ACUHO. But just as I was talking to Isaiah about the informational interview, you should feel free to email anyone whose name gets put out by ACUHO. I think opening up the talking stick is also another really great place to look for who are those people that I really want to connect with. Who are these folks that I really think has some information that I want to get to know more. Also thinking about for our undergraduate students, STARS. STARS is a really great place for undergraduate students to create community. I see a lot of heads nodding, which makes my heart really happy. I was not an STARS alumni. I have goals of becoming faculty one day. That is one of the things on my list. And so, that is definitely a place where we are helping foster community for our undergraduate students as they are looking to pursue this as a career. And so there's definitely little pockets, but we definitely, I can take that comment I can take your question as a little bit of feedback about how we can continue to help create those spaces so people feel more affinity within their groups, which is something that ACUHO is definitely pursuing, but I just need to shout out our organization for a second. I don't think you all understand the dedication and the sweat that happens behind the scenes to get things like this off the ground. Besides just all the volunteers across all of those school platforms, the people that head up our home office, they are doing a lot to try to just meet the needs that we are asking for. And so I'm really grateful for people like Spencer and Mary De Niro and all the folks that work there for us, because we would not be here without them. And so I'm really grateful for that opportunity to be here, but I also want to make sure that I'm continuing to make this place a better space for y'all so that you are continuing to feel like you're not alone, because I definitely have felt like that before. So definitely want to continue to create that space.
Thanks, Mary Catherine. All right. I am going to wrap our session up. I can't think of a better way to end it than that. So rooting for you all in this process. I hope you're both learning a lot about yourselves, higher ed, and hopefully you get some great experiences this summer to keep continuing your journeys. Never stop learning. All right, friends. I'll see you all here more soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks.